Hey, it is the antisocial socialite back at it again. Shout out to all of the wonderful new subscribers and returning friends. Welcome. If you're new to the channel, you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for, darling? Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell. So when I get to running this mouth, baby, you are in the loop. You see the title, you know what time it is. Black men asking black women to smile. Now, everybody, everybody who's anybody has pretty much seen the epic recent Kevin Samuels video that really brought a lot of truths home. And it was a very sobering moment because it was a number of things were talked about in that video that have been floating in these black sectors for a while, that black men have been saying. I know King Sigma is one of the biggest proponents of this concept of the black woman is not your woman. I'm sure David Carroll has said things like this. And a number of people have really pushed this idea that the black woman isn't really belonging to the black men. All right. So I understand where this point has come from, and first I want to say I really commend Kevin for the way he ran that show. Okay, that show was incredibly well put together. I kind of caught bits of it live, but as you can imagine, being here on the other side of the world, it's very early in the morning, so you kind of start watching it and then you can't really keep up with everything. And I don't even know, I think I did actually see a lot of it, but I had to go back and catch it, I had to go back and catch it because there were aspects of it that I didn't seem to understand. How we got onto the conversation about smiling, I kind of missed. Although I was interested in that part of the conversation, because I am somebody who is often frequently told, can you smile more? Okay. It's happened to me. And I really want to also shout out Edward Anderson, because he got on this straight away. And this is why I feel like I really appreciate him, because he was like, who is actually going out here telling random women to smile? And as somebody who has been told by people who I knew to smile, I kind of understood why it's offensive, but people do it. I haven't really been told to smile by somebody who was a stranger. I can't really remember, probably. But I felt kind of guilty for saying that I agreed with the woman where people look at you and they don't want to, I wouldn't say approach you, but how you would feel offended if a random person told you to smile. Because I'll be honest with you, if you don't know me and you see me somewhere and you just think you can tell me smile, I find that weird. It's like I wouldn't go up to somebody and say to them smile just because they're not smiling. Now, there are some people who are kind of innocent and naive like that, and they don't mean it maliciously. They're just a happy, jovial type of person, and so they're kind of walking up to any and everybody, smile. It's not intended to be insulting, but it is a bit of a strange thing to say to somebody you don't know, okay? Because you don't know why they're not smiling. When she said you could be in deep thought, because I was kind of rambling over this yesterday in my mind, and yeah, when you say to somebody who you don't know, smile, that's a strange thing to say to somebody. Smile for what? And I'm not going to play Edward's video, but he was like, what exactly do you hope to gain by telling a stranger smile? Because, at the end of the day, context is king. Telling a person you don't know to smile like you meet them at Starbucks or in the supermarket, is very different from telling somebody who's a colleague who you know on a little bit of a personal basis to smile. It's very different from telling somebody who you are kind of in some type of relationship with to smile. I've been told by colleagues to smile, because the environment is important that you look friendly. So it really depends on the situation you're in when it comes to why you're being told to smile. Now, if a random strange man told me in the street to smile, I would struggle to smile. Because I don't necessarily want to be rude, but I'd be thinking, who the hell do you think you are? Because I don't owe you a smile. And I'm going to get into this thing about the whole is it perceived as promiscuous thing a bit later. Now, I know one of the things that they talked about was this concept of the trauma. Okay. Uh, the concept of trauma. Because I get it that sometimes, a lot of the time, the trauma is used as an excuse. And so I do feel like there's truth to that people use trauma not too much, but when they say trauma, I find it very interesting that a black person has no problem saying, I'm traumatized by slavery, which there is truth to that. And I'm going to kind of expand my thoughts on that in a minute. But they never seem to think about the trauma you went through in your own home as a child. I find that really unusual, but I understand why black people do it, because we know that we live in a matriarchy. We know that black people have a real problem addressing their mother in the home. And so they feel more comfortable blaming slavery, which they can't control, than addressing the mother who they can see on a day-to-day basis. Okay? That's why it happens like that. Because the worship of the black mother and the worship of the gynocracy and this whole you can't ever critique a black woman. Bernard Riley's really been on a tear recently, and I didn't really get this conversation, but it's so funny how poignant it is now, where it's like, can you criticize an oppressed woman? Should black men criticize black women when they're oppressed? And it's like, oppressed by who and how? And it kind of feeds back into this concept of how much can we really use slavery? Not me personally, because I'm in the UK, and I don't live under exactly the same conditions as a person who's from the ADOS community. However, I do tell people that people from the West Indies do have experiences with post-traumatic slavery syndrome, because obviously West Indian people come from the transatlantic slave trade. So some of the issues that people from the West Indies go through is the same as people from the States. There's a similarity in culture because of the background. Okay, so that's why when people say, how can you be in the UK and you're talking about things to do with Americans, well, it's because people from the West Indies have the same kind of transatlantic slave trade experience. That's how. Okay. So let's talk about trauma. I do believe that post-traumatic slavery syndrome, to an extent, is a real thing. And I believe it because we know from the concept of adverse childhood experiences that we've talked about so many times on this channel, all right? The concept of, if you have been through certain experiences during childhood, it's going to negatively impact you on even a genetic level, okay? If you've been through trauma, even in the womb, that can affect your cognitive function. It can affect you on a genetic level. It can affect you in terms of turning on and off certain genes that will lead to health problems later on in life. There is some belief that this is why people from the West Indies have issues with sickle cell, because the trauma of the transatlantic slave trade caused genetic defects that has led to sickle cell anemia in black people. Okay. Um, so if you have centuries of this abuse, which I know it's not really, let's not say centuries, because we know for the first 3/4 of the transatlantic slave trade, it was only men who were being, brought to America. But even if you want to say in the last 100 years or so, you had women being bred under, or black people being bred under these oppressive, stressful circumstances. That is going to implant in the black community certain genetic defects that are going to lead to physical and mental health problems. I genuinely do believe that, okay? I'm not saying that you can use trauma as an excuse all the time, but what I am saying is that there is some credence to this argument that over the centuries, genetic defects and certain physical ailments are kind of built into the black community more and more because of the fact that you come from that background of just centuries of trauma. It's in the DNA kind of thing. All right. Having said that, because of the matriarchal system that we live in, where you're not allowed to criticize black women, people feel more comfortable blaming slavery, which they can't control, than they do feel comfortable addressing that mother in their home. And so, I don't want to take away from that the concept that, black people have been systematically oppressed in various ways. But that is only part of the issue. On a genetic level, maybe we can say black people, and let's just talk about black women, are more predisposed to things like depression or whatever because of a genetic issue. All right. But those issues are compounded by the fact that we grow up, in my personal opinion, in a community that doesn't foster a good attitude towards addressing mental health. We don't talk enough about child rearing and effective ways to raise children, and seeing children as people who need certain things. And I say that because we have certain things that we say, like children should be seen and not heard. No one's asking for a child's opinion. I brought you into this world, I can take you out. These kinds of statements are a little bit dehumanizing. They don't foster good mental health in children, because at the end of the day, you're invalidating that person's existence, and you're kind of tethering that child to an adult for life. I recently had a conversation with somebody, but I don't know. It was one of those conversations that happens and you kind of are not expecting it and you weren't really prepared for it. So, and basically, we have a father talking to a son, right? And he was basically saying to me, like, why would my son malice me? I'm his father, kind of thing. And it's like, and I've seen this with women as well. All right, let me use a woman's example. All right, you've got grown ass women being told by their mother, you're not supposed to malice me because I'm your mom. And these are grown women who are married, being told by their mothers, you shouldn't malice me because I'm your mother. I've seen this. There's a show called First Dates, and in this episode of First Dates, a black man, it's a reality TV show where, these people meet for the first time and they go for a dinner date, and this man brings his mother. And you can see this matriarchal control, or this notion that parents just have the right, even into adulthood, to kind of make some crazy demands about their children as if they're always children. I mean, it's like once you become an adult, your relationship is no longer adult child, it's two adult people. And sometimes you have adult black parents who just don't seem to get this. That when your child becomes an adult, they need to be respected and validated as an adult, not constantly reminded that they're the child out of the two of you because they're no longer small children. And, we have this conversation about why are black men not performing, but then you have black mothers and black parents trying to always crack the whip and reinforce that umbilical cord even when people become adults. And so the way black people approach child rearing, in my opinion, it fosters a lot of heaviness, emotional irregularity, a lack of control when it comes to your emotions, because you're not allowed to express yourself because you're constantly being told as a child your opinion doesn't count for anything because you're just a child. Well, if you raise the person to believe that their opinion doesn't count for anything, they're going to carry a lot of things in adulthood because they don't know, they haven't been taught and trained how to process their emotions. When you're a child, you don't know how to process your emotions because your brain has not developed enough to know how you feel and what those feelings mean. Okay? It takes an adult to say to you, what you are experiencing is normal and it's okay. You feel like this because, and here's how you deal with it in an appropriate way. You don't necessarily demonize the child for having feelings, because feelings are normal, they're natural, they're, God-given, they're there to help protect us and to kind of put our internal world into context. But also, we need emotions in order to connect to other people. So when you're not trained as a child how to have, how to manage your emotions, this is where you get people with mental health problems later on in life, things like borderline personality disorder, low self-esteem, and kind of relating it back to the whole, why can't you smile? Why don't black women look personable and approachable? That is a big part of it, in my opinion. This constant doom and gloom and heaviness is something that is started from childhood. Okay? And so, as much as there is some relevance to this concept of post-traumatic slavery syndrome, this is not the biggest issue I feel with black people. The biggest issue with black people is the way we're reared in our homes that causes us to be in a state of low ebb. Okay? Now, I'm glad that Edward made it clear that black men shouldn't be going up to strange women and just telling them to smile. Because if that person really is having a bad day, they really are having a hard time, they could be going through anything. They could be going through depression, they could be going through divorce, anything. They could be bereft. You just don't know why a person is looking miserable, and if you don't know them, they don't owe you that. And so to say to a stranger smile is a bit weird to me. Okay, but I get the point that Kevin was really trying to make, which is black women feeling so offended at the prospect of a black man asking them to smile, because deep down they don't think a black man is worth it. That was actually the point of the piece that Kevin was really drawing out. Okay? If black women know how to have a pleasant demeanor for non-black men, it's not so much that they don't know how to smile, it's that they don't think the black man deserves that smile. That's the part that um that's the part that obviously Kevin is really talking about. Why would you have the ability to smile for a non-black man, but you can't smile for your own man unless it's because you don't believe he's worth it? And to that, what I would say is it's to do with the fact that most people date within their race. And so if you are having relationships with black men, your sexual and your romantic experiences are obviously going to be in relation predominantly to black men. So for white women do complain about people telling them to smile. I don't know if Asian people have this issue because I don't know. But I know for a fact white women do have an issue with white men telling them to smile. Okay. But again, so the lady saying, I don't see black men saying that to non-black women. Part of that is to do with the fact of what do you hope to get? What do you expect? You know, white women, if they're getting approached by a black guy, they know that he's interested. So if she likes the attention, it's going to show up in her body language. So again, can we say that years of abuse and oppression and the way we're raised means that being approached by a man in the street or whatever, or somewhere out in public, is going to elicit a different response? In part, yes, because the woman feels comfortable with the guy approaching her because she already has an idea how that interaction is going to go. Now, the guy doesn't know when he approaches a woman, a black woman with resting B face, how that interaction is going to end, because we know that sisters have sometimes a tendency to overly humiliate a guy when he tries to approach her. So it's like he doesn't want to take the chance and he's already defensive. Okay, he's already worried how this interaction is going to end because he already knows that the sister, even if she's a nice person, could, there's a chance. It's like, do I take the chance with this woman who could potentially be nice but she just has resting B face, or do I take the chance with the woman who looks a bit more receptive? Okay, women who have resting B face cannot be shocked that men don't want to approach them. Recently in the Kevin Samuels fans page on Facebook, I did a post, and it's kind of funny how it's kind of come full circle, And in the post, I asked, it was kind of like a light-skinned woman versus a dark-skinned woman. It wasn't deliberately meant to be done like that, but that's how it ended up going. The light-skinned woman had a resting B face, and the darker-skinned woman had this big cheesy grin, right? So I asked, gents, which one would you feel more comfortable approaching? Some of the guys were like, I would prefer the dark-skinned one because I like dark-skinned women. But a lot of them were like, for the vast majority of the people who answered the question, they were like, I would approach the darker-skinned one because she's got a nice smile. So when women are like, why don't guys approach me? It's true that men on a first impression don't want to date somebody that looks like they're angry all the time. And as much as I understand that, I'm kind of torn down the middle. And that's why I'm going to get into a little bit to do with this whole promiscuity thing, right? You have guys who don't really have good social skills. And this is why the whole asking a strange woman to smile, for example, is a bit weird. Because she doesn't really owe you the smile. And I don't even understand what you hope to gain once she gives you the smile. That's why it's a bit strange to even ask for it, because what exactly do you hope to get from that? Even if she smiled, then what? So there's still a problem here. And I know that some people may not like this, but I'd be like, I would rather if a guy saw me not smiling, he actually inquired, are you okay? I know that's like that. Are you okay, sis? But I would be more receptive to talking to somebody who actually looked like they cared, instead of not knowing me from a can of paint and then starting to make demands. Because, like I said, I understand the point that's being made here, that, how come you can smile sometimes at non-black men? You don't need to be requested to smile for non-black men, but yet, something as simple as being courteous to a black man is a problem. And that's why context is so important, because in certain situations, I mean, it doesn't even make sense to me. Okay, instead of smile at me, it should just be personable and be pleasant. That's all it has to be. Be personable, be pleasant, treat me with respect. And if I approach you respectfully, give me equal respect. That's what this conversation is. Because if you, and again, shout out to Edward Anderson, he was like, if somebody knows that they have a face that is like always screwed up, they probably get told frequently, you look mad. So it's kind of like a gripe at that point, because it's only a matter of time before somebody comments on your face. So if you don't, if you can't fake it all the time, it's like, I don't really want to have to fake it. I don't want to have to put on the plastic smile and the crocodile smile. But there are techniques, because I've got that issue when I'm not smiling, I look really angry, like I'm about to go on a spree kind of thing. And so for that reason, even I'm aware and I'm very sensitive to people saying to me, smile. But because I'm not that unapproachable and I'm not that unfriendly, I don't want to come off like that. And so I do try to do things like, listen to things that make me feel in a better frame of mind. Focus on things that make me laugh and make me smile. Because I don't want to be walking around like I've got a chip on my shoulder and an attitude. Okay, so if you really don't have an issue, like there really is nothing wrong, you don't have to walk around like the Joker with this huge grin, but you can do things to try to increase the chance of you looking more friendly, so that you feel better within yourself. Just smiling and laughing is going to raise your serotonin levels. It's going to raise your feminine energy. It's laughter is a medicine. It's good for your mental health. So, if you do find that you struggle a lot of the times to smile and be happy, then you need to think about, what are you focusing on all the time? Okay? But for people who have that issue, they're already aware that they're constantly being judged because they don't look like happy people. Okay? Or that there's something wrong. And then people just kind of calling it out all the time. So I kind of get where she's coming from. Right? Now that lady in the car, she had a bit of an attitude already. Even the way she spoke to her boyfriend about mute or something, just already was full of attitude. So as much as she doesn't necessarily like being called out for having a resting bee face or told to smile, it's obvious that, you know, she does have a bit of an attitude. And the thing about it is this, to me, she was quite cute. So I can imagine a lot of men approach her, but when they see her, they can see she's attractive and they're like, smile, beautiful. And she's like, hey, the hell are you to tell me smile? I don't owe you a smile. You know, because she gets men approaching her probably quite a lot. Because I thought she was attractive as a lady, right? She probably gets tired of random men telling her what to do. It's not like, I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like that's probably one of her biggest issues, that she gets told a lot to smile and she doesn't want, random men who are trying to approach her, just meeting her and then telling her what to do. So, it was a bit crazy. It was a bit crazy. I understood where Kevin took the conversation, in that, these women don't want to give you even basic common courtesy. And there are times when they know how to give that courtesy to other races of men. For example, you're in the queue and you've got a cashier who knows how to smile at non-black men. And then it's your turn to be served and the facial expression just drops. And I'm not going to justify it, but I can understand it to some degree, because if you only date black men and your some of your worst experiences have been with men that look like you, it's kind of like, unfortunately, the good suffer for the bad. The men who didn't harm you are the ones that cop it because of the things that the brothers who you gave a chance to, they did or they said. And that's, who you choose to entertain is kind of your fault. But at the same time, it's like, it could be something as simple as just trying to be personable. And that's where the whole promiscuity thing kind of comes into it as well. Because, say, for example, you are, somebody comments on your post, they they message you and you message them back, right? If you don't message that person, they'll say you think you're better than me, and you think you're all that and a bag of chips, and these women are not sociable, these women are not friendly. You try to be nice to them and they don't respond to you in a polite way. But then when you are just not, you're just friendly, okay? Some people abuse that friendliness as well. And part of that is because black people, going back to childhood, a lot of us are not raised to have good social interaction. I did a post in that same Kevin Samuels fans group on the concept of, are black people emotionally unintelligent? And emotional intelligence is something you develop as a result of having relationships with other people. You develop emotional intelligence because people talk to you, they engage you, you have relationships. You develop, having relationships is a set of skills. And so when you are when you go out, when you go to school, when you go to church or wherever it is you go, social gatherings, you learn how to read people, you learn how to pick up on those cues that this person is open or not. And one of the issues in the black community is that we are in too much of a rush, especially a sexual rush. Okay, we are too much in a rush, especially a sexual rush. And this is why we have a lot of the issues that we have, and we have a lot of distrust in the Black community, because people are so desperate to start sleeping with each other. You know, we become overly invested too quickly in relationships. We are doing things with people we don't really know. We have expectations upon people that we shouldn't have, because, you know, going back to the whole smiling thing, you don't know the person like that to really ask them anything. The line between the relationships is becoming very blurred, and it's very confusing. Okay, emotional intelligence is lacking, people skills is lacking, a lot of assumption and entitlement is very high. And so for that reason, you know, we live in an age where a 3 month relationship is almost considered a long time. So if 3 months is a long term thing or a long relationship, then after one or two not dates, after one or two interactions, is that the equivalent of talking to somebody back in the day for like 2-3 weeks? Is that why you meet a person and as you slide in their DMs, you start asking them for nudes, and you start sending them racy messages, or, you know, oversharing, or, you know, asking a lot of personal questions? Because if 3 months is a long time to deal with somebody, then after, you know, one or two text messages or DMs or something, you feel entitled to whatever. You know, I think that's part of the problem. Okay, people who don't owe you anything, you're trying to get something out of them, and as a result, you end up getting into a situation where you feel like you're entitled to more than you actually are. And that kind of creates all kinds of problems, because instead of just taking your time to get to know the person, you meet a person on Monday and you feel like you're in a relationship by Tuesday, and that I owe you something by Wednesday. Okay, and that's a massive problem, because we don't know each other and I don't owe you anything. You know, this is where you get brothers talking about, you know, I'm not going to take women on dates. And I understand why men don't do that, and I don't fault them for it. I just say, let's find a happy medium. Okay, let's find a happy medium. If you're going to take a woman out on a date, what's the purpose of the date? And if you're going to go on a date, the level of effort you put in is what she should be putting in. If she has an issue going for a coffee and just sitting down and getting to know you, then you know the person is not there to get to know you. The person is there to get free food, more time than not. And again, we can't assume, but we have to look at this from a logical perspective. So I always encourage ladies, if you're really looking for a man who, you know, you want to take seriously, you shouldn't be out here demanding expensive dates when he doesn't know you like that. You're not entitled to his wallet as much as he's not entitled to your body. Let everybody just, you know, be smart. Okay? Don't be so entitled. If you buy a woman a coffee or a sandwich and you guys go and chill somewhere, that doesn't mean to say you've wined and dined her, so now she owes you sex. And if you really feel like that, you'd be better off just finding your $40 and just finding a woman with whom you can have that clear-cut agreement. You know, because You can't be out here trying to sleep with women for free and then complain that all the women are ran through and there's no trust. It goes back to this issue of trust in the black community. You can't have trust in the black community because there's too many people confused about what things mean. What does it mean when a woman smiles at you? And even when I went through this in my head the last time, there were so many tangents I was going off onto, because what does it mean when a woman smiles at you? What should a woman expect when she smiles at a man? And do men even know what's appropriate versus what's not appropriate? You know? The reason why women say it comes off as promiscuous is because you could be smiling at a guy just to be friendly, and guys will say you're too friendly with men. So how come, you're always smiling at dudes? Oh, maybe that's what you do when I'm not around. And for me personally, I would rather smile at a person. I know this sounds really weird, but I would rather smile at a guy in my man's presence than out of his presence. Not flirt or nothing like that, but if the person knows me, they know that when I'm out on my own, ain't no one talking to me. Like, people call to me in the street. One thing I hate is when people call to me in the street. If I see somebody, there's this lady that I know, right? And she has a really bad habit of screaming out my name in the street. So anytime I see her, I dodge her out. I go into a shop, I cover my face, I walk really fast, because I've told her repeatedly, don't do it. And I tell you why. Years ago, right, I was at what would be considered senior high. And this girl, she was really pretty. And this guy asked me for her name. And I told him because I didn't think it was a big deal. Anyway, some days later, she came charging up to me. Why did you tell that guy my name? My man is here and he thinks I'm talking to this guy. And how did the guy know your name if you didn't tell him? And I realized, like, this is a big deal. Like, some people really don't like that because it can cause a rift in their relationship. But it could even be a thing where a guy wants to know your name to lie on you. I don't know if this is making any sense, because I don't know if this is making any sense. But it does happen. Let me just use another story. One time when I was like, I don't know, I was about maybe 18 or something, we had a group of friends. It was girls and guys, but we were at the girls' house, one of the girls' house, right? And like, the girls knew each other, but there were guys coming that we knew who were bringing friends that we didn't know. So one of these guys that none of us knew came, and he said, "Where's the toilet?" But where we were, the toilet and the bathroom is separate. So it's a house. So the guy went upstairs, and I said to him, the toilet is there, and when you go down the hall, the bathroom where you wash your hand is there. But one man said, watch him. So when he went up the stairs, I followed him and I stood at the foot of the stairs. And after he went in the toilet, I don't know if he actually used it. I think he flushed it, but I'm not sure. I watched the guy leave the bathroom, the toilet, the WC, and try to go into one of the bedrooms. And I was like, I said, the bathroom is there. So I said, either he's going into the rooms to rob them out, he's looking for whatever, valuables to steal. But some guys will go in the room and steal underwear. And some men will go into the bedroom and lie and say something happened between him and the girl. What? They will lie and say something happened between you and the girl. And when they say, the guys ask for proof, the guy can say, well, I know what her bedroom looks like. Because dudes do that. It's happened to me before when I was younger, guys just lying and spreading rumors. Okay. And so a lot of these things that women feel defensive about, part of it is to do with the negative experiences that they've had with black men lying, being completely goofy, just saying or doing weird things, you know. I mean, and I get it. You can't always blame men for the way they behave, because women make it very easy for them to be disrespectful. If you know, a lot of black women are out here giving up uh nudes and sexy pictures and things like that. And every time you slide in a woman's DMs, more time than not, you can get those things. You're obviously gonna assume every chick that is nice to you is basically asking for you to ask her for, nudie pictures and things like this. But what men who say to women don't understand, like smile, is that some women are just not on that, and they're not smiling, and they're not trying to look friendly or receptive because of these kind of negative experiences where they've been friendly and it's gone badly. The guy's like, can I use the toilet? And then you're trying to rob the bedrooms, or you're going in there to steal stuff, steal underwear and keepsakes and souvenirs. It's like, you're friendly to a guy, and then this is what I was saying. I don't even know if this is making any sense, because we were talking about, I don't know what conversation we were having, but again, it was in that Facebook group, and this guy was like, gentlemen, just be mindful, don't be that guy. And I shared this story. Once I was on my way to work, it was really early in the morning, we're talking about to 7 or to 8, and this guy approached me, black guy, and I wasn't necessarily whatever, I don't even know, but I don't. I must have looked reasonably approachable, because he was like, "Oh, I just wanted to talk to you. I don't want to. I didn't want you to pass, and I don't say anything, and blah blah blah. What's your name?" Oh, when people do that, I always have to ask them, "Why do you work for the police?" Because it's like, why do you meet somebody and straight away you ask them their name? And again, and going back into, guys lying on you, guys trying to they pretend to be nice, but they're not really genuine, like the guy in the toilet. I'm like, don't ask me questions. Just like, don't ask me to smile. And so I'm just like, this is such shocking people skills. Why would you meet a stranger and the first thing you say to them is, what's your name? What's that got to do with you? And then guys get upset when they get fake names and fake numbers. It's like, because I'm completely uncomfortable and you're not reading the situation well at all. Okay? That's why context is king. All right? So I really saw you, I saw you, and I really like the way you look, and I'd really like to get to know you. What's your name? Can I have your number? No. Okay? Yeah, but I just want to speak to you. I want to get to know you, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. All right, here then. So can I give you mine? Why, if I've already told you I don't want your number, I don't want to give you my number, and it should be obvious I'm not comfortable, that you are now insisting I take your number. Okay? But here's the smasher. We started at the crossing. We've now reached the doorway of my building, and I'm trying to go in, but I don't want to go in because this guy is following me. He's trailed me to the building. All right? So he quickly scribbles down his number on a piece of paper and just shoves it into my hand, like, okay, call me, kind of thing. I'm like, which part of this interaction do you not understand I don't want to have? So these kind of goofy men who do these stupid things, they are part of the reason why black women don't even want to look approachable. Because even if you are nice, like you give the guy the number, All right. Even when it's obvious the woman is not interested, the guy doesn't want to go away. And it's like, I don't want to go through this every time that I'm just reasonably nice to somebody. I got to suffer through this whole, you know, this person just harassing me almost. It sounds snobbish, it sounds bougie, but that's part of the problem as well. You got a lot of men out here who don't have reasonable people skills, who understand that when a woman is not really interested, or she might not even be disinterested, she's just not comfortable and you haven't made her comfortable. Okay? And some of the stuff you're doing is making her damn right uncomfortable. And you still can't seem to see that. That's the problem. That's the problem. You don't seem to be able to recognize your behavior is not really making this person want to engage you. That's why you're getting the attitude. That's why you're getting the resting bee face. And if every time you look friendly or you entertain people, you find that you just attract some weirdos who don't seem to know when to go away, after a while you're like, to hell with this. You know, you get resting bee face and that's it. You deal with it. You know, you got to earn this. And this is where a lot of this garbage comes from. Earn my respect, earn my trust, earn my this, jump through a million and one hoops. It's because of and I'm not just saying like, oh, the guys you dated and liked, because I know that's part of it as well. You picked some losers who broke your heart, who let you down, who strung you along, and it's like the red sign, the signs were there, but you ignored them because you really wanted this guy. And then it's like now every man has to pay because you got your heart broken. But that's not the only situation. Sometimes it's just simply you were nice to somebody who was being friendly to you, and as soon as you didn't give them what they wanted, it's like, oh, you're ugly anyway. Oh, your friend looks better anyway. Oh, I didn't really like you like that anyway. Oh, I only wanted to sleep with you anyway. Yeah, that happens too. And it's like there's this huge amount of distrust, there's this huge amount of confusion about appropriate and inappropriate behavior. There's a lot of confusion when it comes on to, like, you know, reading the signs. There's a lot of ego, like, oh, no woman can tell me no, or I can get any woman I want, these chicks say nothing, and I like a challenge, and it doesn't matter how many times she says no, she wants me, or all these women are this and all these women are that. And it's like, why can't we just all approach each other with a degree of good faith and hope but no expectation? Because that entitled behavior is also what's causing a lot of problems. And these assumptions, like, I bet you do this because of this, I bet you did that because of that. It's like, why don't you just get to know me instead of just accuse me? These are the kind of things that are also a problem. People out here assuming too much. You do this because of this. When a chick does that, it's because of that. And again, it's like, you can't be out here saying, how can you be friendly to guys on the internet? But then at the same time, when you are unfriendly to guys who are strangers, it's like, okay, you want the women to be friendly to you, but then you have an issue when women are friendly in general, because in your mind that's a sign that she's over friendly with guys. It's like there's just no standard, there's no protocol, there's no social contract between black people. That means when you engage with we engage with one another on different levels, we know what to expect and we know what is appropriate and inappropriate. We're all just kind of building it as we fly, just, running around in the street doing something. Don't ask me what, but we're all just running around doing something. There's so many variables in terms of if you engage somebody, what could happen, that a lot of people are just walking away. And this is partly to do with the liberal agenda and everything that a man does being deemed as toxic. The reason why a lot of, millennials and Gen Z people are having less sex is because they're too scared to approach somebody in case they're labeled some type of predator. We haven't got a clue what normal human interaction is. We don't have a clue what normal relationships are. We don't have a clue what normal choosing signals are, or what normal compliments are. If somebody compliments you, what does this mean? What do they want? What are they trying to get? There's so much suspicion and fear around relationships that it's just like, what exactly are we doing here? These are the problems why it's bigger than just asking somebody to smile. It's bigger than asking people to smile. There's a lot of mistrust in the Black community because there's too many games being run, too many people playing games, too many people pretending they want relationships when they don't. And people are all defensive. And then you've got, women who are like, I want to protect myself from these weird guys. And then you've got guys who want to protect themselves from being exploited financially and used. And it's like, there's so much lack of trust, or there's such a high degree of lack of trust in the Black community between men and women, that it's like, how can you build anything with this? How can you build anything with this? You can't, because at the end of the day, you can't build relationships where there's no trust. You can't build relationships where there's no respect. And that's where we're at with it. There's no respect in the Black community. And so a man approaches a woman in good faith. He genuinely likes her with good intentions. He talks to her and she humiliates him. And then you have a woman just being friendly because it's to be friendly, and then the guy humiliates her. And then everybody's hurt, everybody's feeling like, what's the point? I'm just going to do me. And the people who are innocent are now suffering because of the ones who went before. It's just a huge mess, And it goes back to a lack of social contract. It goes back to a lack of social construct. It goes back to men and women being out of order and out of their proper orientation. It goes back to a society that's trying to make gender all confused, so people don't know how to operate within their gender. A lot of voices, when this man says this or does that, it means this, it means that. And so you misinterpret a person's actions because you're already trying to tell that person why they're doing what they did, rather than just taking it at face value. And the reason why you can't take it at face value is because you're so desperate to run ahead at 100 miles an hour into God knows what and to where. Oh, I seen him, I liked him, I want him, and that's it. Okay. Well, what's your goal after you meet the person? Oh, I don't know. Oh, sex? It's like, oh, I didn't get the sex, so that was a waste of my time. It was like, huh? This is where we're at with it. And so I don't even know. It's much bigger than just the smile. The reasons why people don't feel like smiling, the constant pressure that a lot of us are under. We live in a society, a digital age. We know that being around a lot of electronics and spending a lot of time on social media, it does increase the chances of us being depressed. Studies have shown that when you are under constant electronic radiation, it can make you feel more depressed. And so your attention is split. There's a lot of things going on. We don't have real food. We don't have food that's nourishing our body, that's helping us to actually produce the hormones that can even make us feel happy. it's hard for us to even synthesize the hormones that will make us feel like smiling because we're eating so much processed food. Um, there's a lot of issues going on here, okay? And as much as I'm not going to justify black women just being horrible to black men for no reason, you know, black men also have to be mindful of some of the things that black men do that not make, but encourage black women to not feel comfortable, and that there's a right way and there's a wrong way to approach somebody, and there's a attitude that we as men and women have in that this person doesn't owe me anything. I don't know if this is like a whole slavery thing. Uh, we are black people, black love, black power, and so this concept of you owe me and we're all black together and I'm entitled to this and you should see me as your mother, your sister, your auntie, and then because obviously we know that goes one way. You always hear black women talking about how can you disrespect a black woman? Isn't your mother black? And it's like, well, why do you feel okay disrespecting black men? Isn't your father black? But we know that's part of the problem because you're projecting some of your issues with your father out onto all black men. But that's a different topic for a different day. But again, that's part of it, those childhood traumas and the issues that you carry from childhood, you're bringing them into your adult relationships and making men who didn't do anything to you pay for what you were conditioned to believe growing up. Like, black men ain't this, black men ain't that, they ain't worth nothing, they're bad people. And it's a sad state of affairs. I get why the lady said you come across as promiscuous, because guys will tell you why you're being friendly with a guy you don't know. That means maybe you want him, or if a woman is too friendly with guys, then imagine what she's doing when you're not around. So I get that. Because I was out with this guy once. I don't like people staring at me, period, right? And oh no, yeah, it wasn't that. There was this chick. She was really pretty. I was walking down the street with my boyfriend at the time. She was pretty, and I think she had like a crop top on or something. And I was like, wow, I said, look at her. But he thought it was a trap, but it wasn't really a trap. I was like, wow, she's got an amazing body. Like, tall, slender. I think, you can see she works out a lot and everything. And he's like, I don't want to look at her. I only have eyes for you. And then hear him to me, now, if you wasn't here, I would look. And I was like, first and foremost, that's ridiculous because we all saw her. Number two, how is that supposed to make me feel confident? So I'm thinking when you're out, you're checking out other women. And I'm like, I understand why you said that, but it doesn't fill you with a lot of confidence, because actually we all saw her. It wasn't a trap. It just is what it is. And he's like, oh, why would you look at another guy when I'm there? And like, would you prefer I look? Well, he didn't say that, but it's like, you would prefer me to be looking at other guys when you're not there. Which I wasn't looking. It was a guy who was staring at me. This was a different incident. The guy's staring at me. And when you're talking to somebody and you catch someone staring at you out of the corner of your eye. And I kind of turned to him and looked at him. And our eyes just locked. Because, all right, I'll be honest, I was trying to stare the guy down. I was like, but it was like, this is weird. When you turn around and someone's staring at you, you feel like, what the hell? And my boyfriend was talking to me, and this guy is just staring at me. So I get into a eye duel with the guy, and he kind of backs away. My boyfriend is like, I'll let you two do your thing. This is what I mean about a lack of understanding of reading the signs. I wasn't blowing him kisses. I wasn't giving him the winky face or a smile. It was like the hardest screw face you could ever imagine. Because I'm like, and he's supposed to know by that point, I don't like people staring at me. But instead of looking at the guy and wondering, bro, have you got a problem? He's like, I'll let you two do your thing. And I looked at him like, what's wrong with you? Don't you see that this mad person in the bus is staring at me? It's like this lack of understanding, this lack of just common sense of what's going on and reading the signs is why a lot of women just think, oh, just forget this rubbish. Because it's weird. We were talking and having a conversation. A man is staring at me in the bus. You should be asking the guy, bro, have you got a problem? Instead, you're asking me, oh, I'll let you two do your thing. Are you an idiot? It's just weird. Like, these are the kind of things, like, for example, dude, if you see a girl with a man, why are you staring at her in the first place? And if the person is like giving you a mean mug, why are you still staring? Why don't you just turn your face around and talk to the people you're with? The person's clearly giving you the look that your eyes are not welcome here. And then you've got a mad lunatic boyfriend who, instead of seeing the situation and reading it properly, is like, I'll let you two do your thing. Do what thing, bro? The guy is staring at me. You know I don't like people staring at me. I'm mean mugging him and you're mean mugging me. What? How many of us here are on crack? Put your hands up. It's like, it was just, and you just think to yourself, like, does anybody have any kind of emotional intelligence out here? Or is everybody just walking around like blind leading blind? This was years ago, but I just look back on it and I think, wow, what's the point? What's the point? It's ridiculous. Just no boundaries, no protocol, no understanding, no common sense. A lot of hurt people bringing all kind of garbage from their previous relationships into their current relationships, and everybody's got to pay for what the other person did or what you allowed them to do, because, you know, it depends on the situation. Sometimes, you know, that was a trashy person that you got involved in for whatever for whatever reason. And now, after you've been wounded, now everybody else has got to suffer because of that choice you made. It's just crazy. It's craziness. It's craziness out here. And the other aspect is people are not really dating. They're not dating to get to know somebody. They're trying to figure out who is going to be the easiest lay at the cheapest price. Who can I finesse into bed? Who can I, you know, trick into whatever? Who can I speech? And, you know, I'm not going to 100% get on the game, guys, because we know, you know, game is just social skills. And game is necessary because it looks like a lot of people don't have any, or they don't know how to respond when they meet somebody who does. You know, it's kind of like the conversation about you want women to submit to you, but you're going nowhere. And even if you had a woman who was cooperative, what would you do with her? Some guys are like that. So it's like, it's a whole mess out here. It's a complete mess out here. And I'm not going to detract from what Kevin Samuels did that night, because what he kind of exposed, especially with the woman who finally spat it out, that it's like, why would we bother to be following your leadership when we're independent? And then she started going off into this, you know, diatribe, which I've already told people numerous times before, is nothing but a deflection. The whole, what have you built for us? Why don't you build? That is a deflection. Because if black women wanted men who could build, they would teach their men to read, their boys to read. They would make sure that they had fathers for their children. They would they would do things to make sure that their black sons could eventually compete. So the whole black men haven't built anything, that's nothing but a deflection. That's not even a real concern. And then you're talking about, why would we submit to you if you haven't built anything? Well, why would we build anything for you if you're not willing to cooperate? This Again, this is that tomfoolery that we're talking about, with a lack of common sense, logic, no social contract. I want you to build Wakanda for me because I'm a black woman. Well, are you going to cooperate? No. So why do you want me to build something for you when you can't even treat me with base level respect? Because we're both black. Okay, but I'm black and you don't give me respect, but you want me to build for you. Well, yeah, because I'm a woman. Yeah, but you should respect me because I'm the one doing the building. Yeah, but I don't have to because you haven't built anything. But black women don't equip black men to build anything. Well, that doesn't matter. Just suck it up and get on with it. Oh, yeah, but let me tell you why I don't owe you respect, because of my trauma. Yeah, but what about my trauma? Well, it doesn't matter about your trauma. You're a man. Suck it up and go build. It's like this conversation belongs in like an asylum. This is like the conversation between two mad people. I mean, the Mad Hatter and like the Joker would have a more coherent conversation at this point, because black women don't want to give baseline respect, but they expect you to build the world for them. And then when you ask them why don't you respect, it's because you didn't build anything, but you didn't equip black men to be builders in the first place. That made sense. It's like people say, why can't we just get along? And I'm going to end it with this. Oh, I'm going to end it with something else. One of the things that, because I had to go back and listen to this broadcast, because I was like, how did we get here? Black women, fighting while pregnant. I've seen that. And Kevin said, which race of women do you see fighting with children in their womb and things like that, and fighting when they've got kids with them? And I'm sure by now everybody remembers this incident.
Started on Friday outside Thomas Beauty Supply. As you can see in the red shirt, Karen Harrison is holding her baby. She is then hit by another woman who is standing beside the car. It happened so quickly, but suddenly the baby is no longer in her hands. People nearby want to pick the baby up. Others tried to break up the fight. Police say when Harrison took the baby to the hospital the next day, she said the baby fell at home, which they later found out was not the case. The fight is something that's hard for even police to wrap their heads around.
It's very disturbing that two adults would fight in a public place, especially while holding a 3-month-old child.
Harrison faces a number of charges tonight, including felony murder and child neglect.
Okay, I mean, a lot of people remember that, and there's some other videos that I came across. And the thing about it is this. In the video that you just saw, a woman, I think she's an employee, came through and she pushes the mother. And I suspect that after the woman dropped the child, she actually stood on the child. The child was crushed. Yes, the child probably had head injuries from being dropped from, the chest height on the concrete floor. 3 months. I mean, that's an extremely fragile child. So it even the head injury could have caused a bleed on the brain. But it's also a thing where I believe that when the women were fighting, she actually dropped the child and stood on the child, at least one of them, and that's why they pushed her in order to get the child out. Okay, so it's just a lack of understanding out here. There's a lack of understanding. There's a lack of just parental guidance for parents, a reverence for being parents. We just don't have a culture as black people in the West of valuing family and raising, a functioning set of human beings. And there's some other situations, I've seen it myself, black women with children, and they're, fighting on the bus, fighting wherever. So yeah, so this is where we're at with it. there's a lot of issues in the black community that are just not being addressed. And the whole smile is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just the tip of the iceberg. But the woman who came out and said, why should we do this? Why should we respect you and you don't build for us? We're independent now. At 24, this is why a lot of men are just walking away, because at 24, you shouldn't be that jaded. At 24, you shouldn't have the mentality, what have you built for us? You only need one guy. So what do you mean, what have you built for us? But that's the expectation that was passed down from her mother's generation. And all these women that she listens to on the internet talking about, we can't respect black men until they build for us. If you haven't watched the video I did was called, why the overthrow white supremacy argument is a straw man deflection. It's a huge deflection, because at the end of the day, other races haven't overthrown white supremacy, but they're still doing better than black people. So white supremacy is not stopping them from thriving in this system. But black people, again, going back to the whole, we have all this trauma from slavery, and it becomes just a crutch. So that's all I've got for this one. I hope it made sense. Even if it didn't, still hit the like button. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Share this video with somebody who needs to see it. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.